All right. So we're going to try something a little different as people come in. So I took a dump of the whole mailing list that we have online through MailChimp, so that automatically when members sign up, you get put into the Slack tools, you get put into the mailing list. And so we're trying to, we're allowing more people to sign up kind of on their own. So I thought we'd start with that as an attendance list. So I'm going to pass this around. Make sure your information is correct, and add any notes you want. I've got to put in some fields there if you've got some feedback, if you want to help volunteer on a committee. If you want me to nominate you for something, or if you got some kind of feedback. I think this is the way we're going to start doing it, is on every meeting we have is giving everybody an opportunity to at least make sure that if you're in the room, you're on the mailing list, and you've got kind of a channel of communication. We're going to work towards implementing a few other automated ways for people to give feedback, organize. As a small but growing organization, we struggle sometimes with managing the amount of work because it's all volunteer run. So the board members are all volunteer. We do have a marketing contractor. We've got Priscilla here that's helping us with a lot of the admin and billing and finance stuff. But for the most part, it's all volunteer run. So if you do have feedback on ways that we can make the organization better, how can we create more value for you? What parts of this do you find that are valuable? Which ones do you think are a waste of time? What would you like to see more of? Of course, if you're suggesting more of something, we're probably going to ask you to help step up and run that, because we need to spread out the work. And once we start getting some funding in place, we're looking to hire probably a part-time and maybe eventually a full-time resource to help manage the association and take it to the next level. But for the current iteration, it's all volunteer. So does anybody have any kind of questions or feedback before we kind of get into the main part of the meeting? Is there anybody new in the room maybe? Well, why don't we go around, and everybody that's new, why don't you guys introduce yourselves, because we want everybody locally or remotely to know who's in the room. And the camera is in the back for the remote folks, but so you can kind of turn your head and talk to the camera if you want, or just talk to the broader room. Or maybe I got a better idea. Let's do what Rainforest does. Everybody that's new, that's never been to one of these meetings, come on up here with me. Do that. We'll solve the video problem really easily that way. All right, so maybe just one at a time. Tell us, who you are, how you heard about us, and what your company does and what you're looking for.
Okay, I'm Mike King. I have my own consulting business called Agile Automation, and I've done my whole career kind of instrumentation and controls, and moving a lot more into IoT infrastructure systems for clients. So mostly small scale and things added on to existing controls, but I've done most of my work in oil and gas, remote equipment, sensors on service rigs, things like that. So.
Perfect, thank you.
So one member where I mentioned that Justin, Mike is an amazing unit.
Let's clarify, mountain unit cycling.
Mike is unicycling mountain biking. Yeah, those are little quirky things in.
There's more of those quirky things.
So I guess I have big shoes to fill now. I don't unicycle at all. So I'm Craig Trask. I'm with Miranda Communications or Wireless. I have been there now about 3 weeks, and I understand that we've been engaged in this chapter of the IoT for a number since its conception, pretty much.
Probably almost 2 years now.
Yeah. And so I'm just here to see what's going on.
Perfect. I think we've met before, haven't we?
You seem very familiar, Mark.
I think I probably interviewed you for a job.
I'm Trevor. I see a lot of familiar faces. Not seeing anybody. I'm Trevor. I'm with Avnet. We're a global distributor of electronic components. Probably bumped into us once or twice at different places. If you're doing any sort of developing, obviously I bump into you guys all the time at various trade shows and such. So first time I was able to get out. I missed the last couple, but excited to hear see what goes on here.
Perfect. Thanks for coming out. Thanks, Joe.
I'm Devin Wallace. I'm a Sagittarius, like long walks on the beach, candlelit dinners, but I'm the stars. I'm a marketing specialist. I've kind of had a couple of years experience working in the IoT space with a IoT platform. I might have heard about them, Trakopolis. And so I just want to come be a part, see what this is about, do some networking, and enjoy the technology, and I'd like to see what's coming down the pipe. Thanks.
Perfect. DJ McLeod, I'm with Aero Electronics, also a global distributor, components and services, so we focus on the LT space, and love to see Alberta companies succeed in this area, for sure.
All right, anybody got any questions for these guys before we let them sit down?
How did you guys find out about this?
Well, myself, I bumping into Mark and some of these guys at different IoT shows with Microsoft and so on that we're attending and participating in. So.
Trakopolis and Randy. What do you guys?
I think I was thinking.
LinkedIn?
Well, I saw signs here actually doing some contract work, and then all about the iStation.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, so, yeah, Suzette from AutoSol, one of our members, she's not here yet, but she actually took the banner stand and put it out at the ISA show, right? So you guys are free to go. Thanks for coming up here.
Thank you.
Does that work all right? Should we do that every meeting?
Yeah.
I think we should, right? And what do you guys think of this layout compared to the last one? So people that were here last meeting, it was set up more of a U shape.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the amount of density. We didn't have enough seating, I don't think. But is this better? So.
I like it the other way.
The other way.
You like it? You like to see each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one like forced.
We'll have to organize. Well,
We're taking a dent.
yeah, we're still figuring things out, so you'll have to bear with us. But and so now that everybody's kind of here and seated, exit. So there's an exit there, an exit here. Bathrooms are back around that way. So if you go out this door and take a right, there's a washroom. I think there's a back emergency exit around that corner as well, and then the main entrance that you came in as well. So I want to make sure that we cover all of that first. So we're going to have some of our members come up, or some of our committee leads come up and give you a little bit of overview of what's happening, maybe lead a few different brainstorming discussions. Of course, at 11 o'clock, we have our presentation. So one of the things on that iPad that's going around is if you want to present, please indicate so. We have 2 presentation slots each one of these meetings. So it's a great opportunity to share your knowledge, educate the rest of the group. Of course, it's going to be an opportunity for you to promote yourself and your company. If you can, find a topic that's of interest that shows your expertise and helps everybody in the room. We're trying to find presentations that both help all of the members, but also give our members an opportunity to promote themselves. And of course, if you look at our member benefits, which are now up on the website, we do give preference to core members, but because we have very few core members, there's an opportunity right away. If you're an emerging or associate member, you should jump at that opportunity to take those presentation slots, because we've got more slots than presenters right now. And so you'll find that most of these meetings, we have a single presenter, but we would like to move forward and have at least 2 presenters per meeting. And so, we'll get more choosy as we have more and more people, but really our ideal is some thought leadership and knowledge sharing, helping all of our smaller members grow. And then if we could, the ideal would be having a solution provider and maybe an end user or customer. So then we can start to actually match make a little bit. And you'll also find in that spreadsheet that's going around is, if you've got something that you want to offer the group, maybe you're selling IoT devices or design services, put it in there. We're starting to try and build a database of what does every member have to offer and what are you looking for? Because I think that there's an opportunity here. We have these random collisions. That's what we've been focusing on, is putting people in the room and having you guys run into each other. But as this gets bigger and bigger, there's no way you can meet every person in this room every meeting. So if we can start to gain some intelligence about what you have to offer and what you'd like to get in return from another member, we can start to match make you. And the Slack tools, I don't think anybody's using the Slack tools right now, but the Slack tool should be a core resource for you. It has every contact in the association is in Slack. So you can have access to their email, You can post on a channel and have a two-way conversation. We can have more group collaboration, because we don't want, you know, these meetings are valuable, of course, but we don't want to be constrained to once a month. We want to create that value on a daily basis. So if you've got some news to share, put it in the Slack channel, or let us know so we can put it in the newsletter, right? If you're looking for help, post to the Slack channel so other members see it. I really find that in most organizations, Slack only gets used if you've got the app on your desktop or the app on your phone, because if you're required to go to a website to check notifications, you never will. So my ask of you is, you know, there's a few things I think fundamentally that I'd like to see everybody as members do in this room is make sure that you're in Slack, make sure that you're active and asking for help or showing your offer, and then help promote the association. We're still kind of getting our feet under us for promotion. And so some things that you'll see from the last meeting, there was some feedback on wanting member benefits. So we're going to be revamping the website a little bit, but we've created a PDF of member benefits. It really talks about what goes on in these meetings, the digital tools, the events we're trying to do, and it has comparison tables of the membership categories. And so you can take that and distribute it. Push people to the website or send that PDF around. We really need everybody to help share the message, because I think it can be more viral if everybody is sharing that with the broader community. And, you know, the more help we can get, the more that we can take those dollars that we're collecting and put them into creating more value for the members. So, so take a look at the website, you know, provide feedback on other things you think we can do to help spread the message. Now that we have that base level kind of value of the association and what every member gets, we're going to start kind of casting out our membership more. So you're going to see us at, you know, I'm going to put William Show booth. So we're going to be advertising that way. We're going to do some LinkedIn advertising. So different ways that you think that we can help message out, because really at the heart of this is it's a promotion engine for all of you. So the more that you're active, the more that you guys help cross promote, the better. And if you haven't put the member badge on your website, we distributed that a couple newsletters ago. We're also going to find a way to incorporate some member resources on the website so that you can get the marketing materials, so you can get the member badges, and everybody should hopefully be helping drive everyone back to the website to help spread the message. So I don't want to dwell on marketing too much. I mean, we kind of bring it up every meeting. Is there any questions or any kind of direct feedback on what you guys think that we can do more of, how we can help you to spread the message about Alberta IoT? Maybe how we can create more value for our members? With who, sir? Yeah. Yeah. And do you have a connection with them, or? So that's what we're really having trouble with, is we get lots of requests kind of, but we don't know which ones to follow up on. So if you could take the lead on maybe communicating with her and seeing, Matt here is actually the chair of the event.
The IoT thing they do monthly. Yeah, according to my last meeting, then I'm supposed to be June 6th at the filling room pitching the event to them.
Oh, who's that? John, you're speaking there. Was that something for the discussion, or are you just off mute by accident there? John, did you have a comment? So yeah, the events committee, do you want to?
Well, so I'm on the association, member of the DCC, and I've already asked a note to kind of join our association or have some sort of collaboration, but I can follow up with her if you talk to her. Sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Perfect. Let's see, I'm going to look at my notes here so I don't get lost. We did make a couple other improvements to the website. People were complaining it was really slow. So we actually cut down the resolution of the animation. Please do go and test that. And if you've got other feedback, great. If you're looking for other materials, let us know what materials you need so that we can make sure that everything is in a common location so everyone can move forward. in terms of our events, we're trying to build up these committees. So we built a marketing committee, we built an events committee, we're building a facilities committee. We really need your help to come in and do some of the work around these committees. Because we don't have enough dollars yet to hire full-time staff, we're still volunteer run. So we're gonna have some of our committee people come up here and talk about what they're doing in their committee. I mean, in marketing, sure, we can always use more people. If anybody wants to join the marketing committee, come and talk to me after. But I think where we need the most help is probably events, and then also with funding and facilities. So, Matt, do you want to maybe come up and talk a little bit about both some short-term events, longer-term events?
Morning. I'm Matt, a scanner with MR Control Systems. I'm trying to organize or plan for events for Alberta IoT Association. We had a meeting actually yesterday with one of the gentlemen who offered help. And it looks like this is a direction we're going to. There are a lot of new faces today compared to last meeting we had. So I'll go over all the activities quickly and zoom into some of the ones that are more of our concerns for us. So our association, we are having this monthly meetings, and it's kind of gradually taking its own shape and form. It's kind of evolving, and it's slowly growing as well. So we see that. Our membership is gradually growing as well. So the number of people here is a very good reflection of our membership growth as well. So we expect these meetings grow a little bit more. So we are looking at having regular, whether it's monthly, continue this monthly meetings, or making it quarterly, or whatever changes we need to do. But we know these meetings are going to become a little bigger than what it is. And that's the reason the tables are set up like this, because we fill up the room when we have tables around last time, right? So we are open to ideas, and we know we're going to grow, and we have to continue adjusting to the growth. So that's one of the events. The other one is, we know we want to have an AGM meeting once a year. That's part of making sure all the members participate in the same place, especially if you're going to start growing in other cities like Edmonton, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat. We want to be able to have a once a year at least, all the members be able to connect. So we're looking at an AGM meeting, we're looking at a regular event, something like this, or different shape or form of this. We're also looking at a once a year, a big conference / trade show type of event. I've been working on that for, is John here?
He's online, I think.
John, are you online?
He's on mute now, I think.
Sorry, yeah,
Okay.
I'm here, guys.
Okay, good. So I've been working with John. Kind of our association look at as his company as potential contracting company to contract out the entire conference trade show. The board members are volunteers like myself who have our own businesses, and we are super busy. So we know to take a big event like a annual conference or trade show, it requires more than just 6-7 business owners trying to do this on their spare time. So I've been working with John. We look at, I spent last 3-4 weeks with John. We prepared a proposal for an annual conference, looking at like a couple of thousand people attending in potentially TELUS Convention Center, March, April of 2020. So John helped quite a bit. We prepared a proposal. We presented it to the board. We got some comments back from board, and we are working through the concerns and comments about the details of the event. So it hasn't been finalized yet. It's a big activity. There's quite a bit of ups and downs about it. So we are continuing to work with it. The last update on that item is we sat down early this week, a few of the stakeholders, not all the board members necessarily, and we're kind of working through some of the concerns and details. And the idea is I asked board to allocate a good an hour for next board meeting to go through all the concerns and comments. And hopefully within next few weeks, we can finalize it and decide which way we want to go. Okay, so so I talked about AGM, talk about this annual conference. This type of events, we were looking at, potentially we are looking at having every other month, 5 events a year, have it in a bigger format than this. How many of you guys attended the February startup lunch event that we had? Okay, so about 1/3. So we had a big event in February. We planned for 40, 50 people because we just started in last year. So we said, okay, let's have a startup event, a lunch event, and use it to invite all our contacts and introduce Alberta IoT. We ended up with about 180 people, right? And the event went very well. We had the Minister of Trade of Alberta came and did a presentation. We had an awesome presenter. So we know events like that, back then when we had only 20 people, that event helped us to grow to 40 members. And we see quite a bit of potentials doing similar events. So one of the discussions came up, I haven't presented it to the board. These are all open ideas that we're talking about, that potentially we could have 5 events like that a year, with giving companies space to set up their tabletops or booths, having a social event. Really the purpose of it is networking and allowing companies to get to know each other. We can do it this way as well too, but we're playing with the ideas how these monthly or regular events are going to look like. We know we need to let it grow to 100, 200, 300 people every time we have this. Any question, any comments? Open to ideas, yes.
Going great so far on the market. Thanks for all the help. Just as I think we were just talking about this just a minute ago. You know, it's one thing to get all of us together that are interested in IoT and building IoT systems cross-pollination. There. And to your point about the last event, you know, if we should think about maybe focusing on how we can bring customers in the event. Right? So, I don't know, but I'm supposing that event was popular because people saw IoT and they're interested in with their business, so they came and added to the party. So I think it's something we could do to bring customers more.
Yeah. No, very, very good point. One of the items I brought up yesterday, we were actually going to look at what are the things you can do. One suggestion is, and I think if we can pull that off, it will be very effective. Let's say we have 5 events like the one we had on February, 5 events a year. If we make sure one of the presenters are one of the senior managers of major customers, like Sunco, Husky, City of Calgary, Altalink, TransAlta, major customers, that they come and do a presentation on what their IoT needs are. I attended Canadian Trade Commission set up a roadshow that took a whole bunch of Canadian companies to US. I was part of a group of 27 companies who went to Florida. So what Canadian Consulate in Florida did, they invited we went to Miami, they invited all the stakeholders, including City of Miami, senior management. We're talking VPs, directors of transportation, smart cities. So they managed to get all these people, they organized the event, they organized the transportations, accommodations and all that. But I found when I went there, we went to Miami, we met with all the major customers, we went to Tampa Bay, and then we went to Orlando. It was unprecedented to the level of information that was communicated between Canadian companies to the customers. And I find myself extremely lucky that, hey, how often do I get a chance that these VPs and directors come and tell you for next 10 years, Orlando needs these things. These are our challenges. I think if we can do that, I don't know if you have any ideas or anything else. Yes. That would be great if we set up a panel discussion or presenter. We are open to ideas, as you can see. We are willing to take risk and try different things. So one of them, if that makes sense. If there's any other ideas, definitely.
Or even if you, I remember a few years ago, Atco come to NRCIF looking for some, they have some technology challenges. And they asked us what they call, was not a call for proposal, but what they call among our clients, looking who can help them to solve these kind of challenges. So we have this kind of meetings, something that can get your membership back. You have 50 companies now in this association or more, but something that can also help them. If during maybe the next 2 events, we can contact Atco or another company, give them a chance to come here. Not only waiting when we'll have a little trade show of 200 or whatsoever companies or people around, but come here, give them a chance to talk to companies around, say, hey, here I am, I have this challenge. You guys, if you can pull it up, why not?
So I'm hearing more and more, we'd like to have the end customers more engaged in this type of events. And we will try to find a way to do that. I think panel discussions or having them doing presentation, these are, so far, the ideas have come up.
I think it makes sense if you're talking about going out to a specific individual. Like if everybody in your network, if you know someone that is, a good speaker, a leader that is your customers, like that's, how are we going to draw customers in? We all have customers. So we should probably go and promote Alberta IoT to our own customers and see if we can solicit, like I do know Mark Schomback at Synovus, and say, hey, can you come to this meeting and speak? And so maybe we really do sit down and say, let's have a customer speaker at every meeting. Yeah. But I think we need everybody to kind of filter in people and ideas for that because, the association is really all of us, right? So,
We also know organizing these events. Like imagine 5 of these events you're talking about, however form it has. AGM, a big annual conference. It requires resources to organize it. And we are a nonprofit organization. We have got people dedicated to find funds and ways of raising money. But at the end of the day, we learned, like with the February event, Mark single-handedly took it on his own and he spent millions of hours to get it happen. These type of events take effort and it requires event coordinator, right? So if you are in a position that you can lend your company resources as an event coordinator, or if you know coordinators, we're going to be moving towards the direction of hiring a paid position, part-time possibly, for event coordinator. It's inevitable. It's just so much work there. But we probably want to start with volunteer position to get 1 or 2 going to raise enough funds from these events so we can pay for these event coordinators. Between raising money from these events and getting some money from some of the funds available, we got to figure out a way that we pay somebody to do this. Definitely board members are not in a position that can coordinate events on a regular basis. Once we can do it, but I don't think any one of us are in a position to do it. So we need help in terms of if you want to, so the idea is every one of the board members are taking an activity. So I'm looking after events. Mark is looking after marketing. So Mark has got a few people helping him. I guess I have so far 2 people offered and they are actively helping me with organizing and plan. I'm not asking you to organize events. I'm asking you for brainstorming sessions, planning, and making sure we are going in the right direction. So if you're interested, let me know, send me an email, and I will invite you to these. Once every 2 or 3 weeks we get together and just really, what do we want to do and how should we plan it? One last thing, we also look at the mechanics of the camera and the connections and all that. The board has decided we would like to have these events broadcasted. We are using Zoom software. I don't know if you're broadcasting or it's on invitation right now. Or they have
it's open public.
Okay. So the goal is these events are going to be broadcasted. We are going to need better quality equipment. So the board has decided, let's look at better quality equipment, spend a bit of money. We want to have a good quality presentation and good quality broadcasting tools. So that is coming up as well too. Anything else? No? Okay, thank you.
You want to talk facilities?
Yeah, and I can talk about I was gonna recap platform.
Sure.
Wasn't me doing it for time.
Yes. Have you heard from Will? I sent him an email.
Oh, that's good. Is it okay to pull
That's
this
just the clicker. Yeah.
the spare one?
I'll get it on the camera.
All right. Don't want to pull that one.
And so you might have to share your screen because they're going to get the video right now. So if you want to switch to.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. So I wanted to bring up something.
Or do you want to transfer that to the desktop so you can use the clicker? Or?
Yeah, I'll do that. No, it's not responding. All right, I'll return.
Great to see new faces and the familiar ones. I'm Lane, from Trakopolis, been with the board, from the beginning, and the group that came together to put this, starting an IoT association, the need for it. There's a lot of IoT happening in our province. Trying to build a body that can represent it and promote it. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of work, but it's been a great opportunity for me personally, meeting all of the faces in this room and continuing to build relationships for my own company as well as for myself. This is a learning opportunity, and so what I'm going to do today is just quickly go over. So within the association, I'm looking at facilities and planning around what do we want to see as the future next few years as an association. What would be the value that we can provide to members based on facilities? And we had a great presentation last month from Molly Thorson from Calgary Platform, previously Calgary Technologies. So that's a 30-year-old civic agency. They operate the Alistair Ross Technology Center right now, and they've been involved at the university and in the city in terms of space. So I don't want to go through the whole presentation, but I just wanted to try and talk about the vision and the new building that's being constructed downtown Calgary. So if you see the construction of the parkade area in between the so if you're in the new Central Library, and if you haven't seen it, I urge you all to go visit the Calgary Public Library, the new Central Library. Looking out from the coffee shop, looking at the construction that's begun, that's essentially the parkade that's going to be in between Studio Bell and the new library. So what we're looking at is the top floors are, of course, the parkade, and so this is a deal between the Calgary Municipal Land Corp. This is a big $80 million building, but what you're looking at is design ideas. The first two floors are there to promote innovative technology, incubation labs, and to be a center of attention that, imagine all those people parking, going into Studio Bell in the library, walking through hallways, promoting new innovative tech that's growing out of this collaboration space. So what we're doing is preparing a lot of the facility ideas. Platform Calgary is seeking input from our membership base of what would be valuable. We're looking at permanent space in this once it's built. That's coming in 2021. But if you look at what the ideas are that they're pursuing in the East Village of Calgary and the growth of building this garden of technical innovation in Calgary, this is a big part of that plan. So that's why Alberta IoT is a useful association to them, because we can help guide and curate content and give input to how that facility could be used. So there is ideas around,
lab space, shared lab space, meeting rooms, of course, rooms like this, but, you know, it's a pretty big floor full of space that they want to use. So that's what we're doing, is gathering input from members. That's going to translate into a number of questions. We're going to put out we're really just looking at survey our membership base to say what would be useful to our association. And as we grow into having a permanent space in this, what's the value to our members? What do you want to see? Is it startups having access to labs? Is it more on the co-working and the incubation of startups, as well as maybe it's outposts of some of those big customers you're talking about, some of the big shops? Is this a good place to be recruiting? So there's a lot of input that's going to guide that. You know, obviously they've designed the space, but how it's going to be used is still in fluctuation. One thing I wanted to just give a quick highlight to, something the IoT Association, this is just kind of taking shape over the next week, or over this past week.
We found, I think, that it gets washed out remotely when the lights are off. So, yeah.
I'll just describe it for the people in the room. This is an event coming up that we're now basically, you know, IoT Association is going to join and co-promote. But there's a speaker coming to the Calgary Public Library, a very well-known empire builder in British Columbia. Peter is coming to give a presentation, so I'm going to go attend and join alongside the Workplace Speaker Network. So this is kind of a new opportunity that we're pursuing. Another item I wanted to bring up, opportunities in grants for IoT that we see as very valuable for companies to evaluate. Alberta Eco Trust is a company here in Calgary, but operates gathering inputs on grants, a number of grants all across Alberta. Funny enough, they're actually in our building, and I've been trying to get them to be members, so I'm going to start promoting them, and then I'm going to really get some arm twisting in to get them to be members. But these are grants that the City of Edmonton has available that IoT has a very important place in capturing. So when we're talking about solidifying plans for climate change and the impacts in our cities, that's what these grants are focused on. There's a number of them, so I urge our membership to look at them. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about contacts. It's probably a fairly short time frame to application, but it's a good resource to get to know what those look like. And some of the ideas that they're looking at in terms of research areas, like we're talking about, Edmonton is looking at urban development, impacts of climate change on the city infrastructure, as well as the vulnerable populations. So they have a mandate, along with the IPCC group, of cities evaluating how to measure the impacts of climate change, and the grants that be available. And on the facility side, that's something we obviously, the association doesn't have a fixed office yet. We're working on our fixed legal address along with Will, and our shared office space. Once we get those permanent hires, obviously we're going to want a space. How are we doing for time? Do I have time for a shameless plug of my own company? I probably do.
Go for it. What I wanted to show everyone, if it'll play, was just a. Oh, I want to share that then once you get it. Yeah, it's going to kick off a video if it can. It's on. Where were you going to? It's on the desktop. Yeah, just let me do a video.
So just a quick plug. I wanted to bring up something I think is very valuable, some technology we're playing around with, but for IoT associations. Firstly, at Trakopolis, we're leading some new innovation into indoor sensing and the visualization of that. So I just had a quick video I wanted to show you guys talking about what we've been playing with, but the platform we're using is it's a software company based out of Scotland. It's a 3D mapping system, which with a very good seamless view from an outdoor map, kind of cartoony, but still, you know, it's a collection of different JavaScript technologies, different mapping engines. But what you're looking at is basically a 3D model in a browser of a building, and this is the University of Calgary. And so this is a team that I worked with developing sensor technology, tracking, as well as sensor placement within a 3D landscape. And it was a very interesting technology that we played with on the website, and I just wanted to promote that and, you know, get it out there to other companies that are building visualization of IoT technology in an indoor space. What you can imagine is the ability to place various sensors all around. So this is just a, you know, they're a SaaS platform. We integrate with Google Maps and OpenStreetMap and Bing Maps, but in terms of a seamless outdoor to indoor transition, that's, in my experience, unless you're building it yourself, it's very hard to find. So I just wanted to bring it up there. This was my university capstone team that kind of worked on that alongside me and a couple of other hardware companies here in town that I partnered with, the actual transmission devices. Trakopolis is a company, we don't make any hardware. This was MC Things hardware. We also worked with Tectelic devices and a couple other small transmitters. But anyway, that would be just, this is an example of the association bringing different companies together and just building some collaboration. And to me, this is the great value that my company has gained from this association. So
that actually brings up a really good point, just because in some of our marketing meetings, one of the big things that came up was success stories between members. And so you just mentioned that you guys, Trakopolis, MC Things, and Tectelic, which are all three members.
Yep.
Did that start here?
Yep. So I met Tom through this, and Tectelic, you got to know those relationships here, but the value of face-to-face communication and working together on a regular basis, you know, this wasn't really any money up front or anything. This was just things that it helps a lot to be able to have those conversations and to know people.
Well, I think we'd like to capture that and then share that if you'd be willing to do so.
Absolutely. And that's all I had on the facility and on the self-plugging space. So that's it. Be any questions? Certainly reach out to me if anything I've covered. The platform presentation from Wally from last month, I've got to get that put onto our shared space so it's accessible within Slack or Trello, and I'll put anything else up there that we want to share with our membership.
What's the next steps? I know the platform was really interested in engaging with our membership. Like, I think they want everybody here to really think about what you would need in a shared lab space or collaboration space, because they want to provide the placemaking.
Yes.
But they need people to say, what kinds of activities would we undertake there? How would we get our members together? How do you grow companies?
So from the last meeting, there's a group of us that came together talking about Beakerhead and talking about how we can get together. What's a project that could grow some people, and then how can we use a space? So when it comes to platform, they're looking at what we can do with the space. So whether it's hosting hackathons, whether it's hosting events that bring together lots of different companies to, actually get to work building, those are key things that we see as value, and that's what platform is really interested in. Obviously, the building is going to take a little bit of time to get on its feet, kind of like us as an association. We're still growing, but the Alistair Ross Center is available for us to use from Platform Calgary. They've got space, as well as our members, being able to host space and have these sort of cooperative events. But that's what we really want to promote, is what can we do that's cooperative and it makes good, it can give some benefit to each member that gets into that. But for me, Beakerhead would be a great opportunity, but obviously with it's volunteer based, or if you've got the energy and the output or the staff capable to put something together, I think it's a great opportunity.
Yes. Really very encouraging to see you, Trakopolis, MC Teams, and just come with this. I will be glad to meet with three of you. One company came yesterday in my door, and I see four of you collaborating. And I don't know if there's any role that IRAP can play to help you move from where you are
Well, this was the thing I was gonna come and bring to you.
to something better than what you have, and make a product based on that. So let me know.
The other company here in Calgary that I'm trying to bring in that has great technology for this is Zero Key.
Yeah.
The ultrasonic sensors and very precise location tracking.
Yeah.
So I'm meeting with them next week, and
So I have another one for you.
Okay.
So let me know. We can talk after that. So
Perfect.
I'll be glad to sit down.
all right. Victor, you wanna?
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Let's steal 10 minutes out of your presentation next time. Oh. Okay. So I'm the guy trying to put something called the nodes together. And what the nodes were really about was the focus industry groups. Or let me be a little more direct. If we are here, and I believe we're over 50 paid membership companies now, so that means we probably have like 60, including the government and so on, right? So we have a lot of membership here. And why are we here? And more specifically, what's in it for you? Because if you don't figure that out, then it's really a useless meeting. And we as an association, while we, meaning all of us and every individual, that's what we're here for. So if we don't figure out what we're doing and why we're here, we can't take advantage of all these great things like building offices and the platform and cool meetings and all that. We can't, and 50 companies, come on now. So I'd like to kind of take advantage of the fact that we have 22 people in the room today. And if with your blessing, I'd like to ask maybe, what are we here for? And I want it selfish. I want to say, if I got this, then it's a big win for me. Okay, so let's just start there. It's very much, I want to create the reason that we exist, and we come back for more. All right. All right. So, I'm always mentioned something. Side topic, first of all, financial committee. We need to write grants and write all sorts of things. We need some volunteers. So, is there anybody in this room who's got experience working with fundraising or grants and stuff like that, and could help out on that? Oh, look at that. Cool. Great. So, if you don't mind, join our funding committee and help out there. That'd be fantastic. Anybody else? Could really use a hand here. Great. I'll get your details afterwards. Right on. All right, so getting back to the focus industry groups, which we call nodes here, I'm going to rattle off a few things and say, if I got this, I would pay $10,000 to be here, or whatever, all right? So that's selfish. It's got to be a driver that motivates people to come here, all right? So let me just start with some ideas. I'm going to ask Priscilla to keep track of rough count. So the idea is not only be nice to have, it'd be, this matters to me, okay? So if I said hiring and skills, if we got a bunch of people here who are looking for jobs, how many of you would be interested, or yourself looking for jobs, how many people in this room are interested in hiring and skills? So just give a hands up. So like 3, okay. Selling. If, for example, we brought in, and it was brought up earlier, Synovus, Atco, and you had an opportunity to sell, how many people in this room would be interested in selling? Okay, let's Priscilla get a count here. Everyone. So I counted 5 in negative. It was actually 22 minus 5. So there's actually 17 people interested. Okay. Funding. If we brought in BDC, IRAP, venture capitalists, angel funders, all those people, who would be interested in getting funding in this room here? Oh, wow. IRAP is here. No, hands down, buddy. Hands down. Count down. Okay. So these
these are things I would say, if we're doing this here, you would show up for every one of these meetings, right? So that's what I want to say, and we'll focus on these things. Networking, and I'm just going to elaborate on that. I was in a conversation yesterday with a couple of key people, and I found out that our existing membership has generated probably close to a dozen companies working with each other today, just because they met each other. And you heard that one story which ate up my time a few minutes ago. But networking and working together and meeting places, who's interested in that? Wow, looks like quite a few people are. And then specifically deals and matchmaking. That's different than networking, where you kind of meet people and who wants to just cut a deal, like, you know, looking for a very specific application or device manufacturer or so on. Can I get a hand up for that? Okay. How about group strengths? In other words, we want to take on a big project, can't handle it. So you just want 2 or 3 people together and say, hey, let's be able to take on a larger opportunity than we would be able to do ourselves. Who would really go for that? Okay. This is cool. This is cool. Technology excellence. We heard about the world-class ultrasonic company that's not here. We heard 3 keynote speeches ago when Aurora, Andy came up and gave us a speech about the world-class technology, and Wilson gave a speech about world-class vibration detector or seismology, or like the world's best. Who's interested in actually meeting these guys? Okay, very cool. Marketing. Who wants to see this as a promo engine? And I think that's actually what Mark's saying. You know, get a chance to show off your company and be part of a big marketing trade. Who's interested in marketing? Well, today we also have a few other things. Today's keynote speaker is about the legal system and learning about the law and the interactivity, you know, all sorts of things, patents as well as protections and corporations and so on. Who's interested in legal information? Okay. She's keeping count, so just give her a chance to count the hands.
Just to clarify.
You wouldn't come here if it was that, right? Yeah.
Maybe even expanding that, it would be on just legal, more along the lines of that professional services, you know, legal, accounting, sales, marketing. You know, there's a lot of really smart guys in the room that really understand the business really well. And there's some other people that, you know, maybe have a little bit more experience on the sale and marketing and sales side. And, you know, having those people in the room actually creates a lot of value.
Absolutely. So the suggestion is to go not just legal, but also support services, accounting, and do the topic brought up in our committee, management, like learning about corporate management, leadership management, as well as operational management. So that was in fact, I'll take advantage of that. That was my next one. Who's interested in management skills, learning how to run a company and having the right resources come and do a speech and support? Okay. International business. So we had with it Dwayne's group, like Teletic. They did a keynote speech about how they conquered or accidentally walked into Australia, which had no oil and gas business, and discovered that, geez, there's a huge whack of money there and a ton of oil and gas people. That was a keynote speaker. I think that would actually generate a ton of interest that day. Who's interested in international business? All right. And the most important one, I guess, for a lot of us in our soul is we want to give back. We want to create a community. We want to create something that's the best in Alberta. So this is a give back or providing something for the province and for our children. Who's interested in that kind of a discussion? Okay. Just no real black and whites here. Okay, so thank you very much for that. This gives us, the Notes Committee, a direction to pick on these things and focus in on what is available and what we're going to work on. So just as a quick segue, and I think that's 3 minutes, how about that? An update on the Notes Committee. We've got a new member who joined the committee. It was, sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now. And the Trello board has been set up. And Trello is the place where you can log in and see all the activities that are going on and what our goals are. So this has the concepts of what we want, which ones have been approved to go ahead, and then the actual notes that are being created. So it's sort of an organizational place. I believe a link has been sent to all the committee members. If you haven't received it, let me know if you're on a committee doing so. What else have we done? The vision, which is the structure of how it's going to run. The committee is going to be structured to go through one key topic at a time and make sure that we nail it. We don't want to do any of these key topics that we were talking about a few minutes ago half-baked. There's no point in coming in and, for example, having customers show up and then it's not working, right? So we want to get that nailed. So that's a value for us, and it's our community, it's our association, so that it happens properly. Okay, and you know, my goal was just really to get the survey done. So I'm just going to kind of turn around. Any questions on the notes? And okay.
I've just got one other thought potentially for focus groups, and that's being more implementation layer. So technology or tools or implementation presentations and topics for discussion.
Right on. So let's just show of hands. Who would be interested in technology implementation groups? Any more ideas? This is what we're here for. What we want, and I say the most important thing is to think selfishly. Because if you don't come back, then the association's lost somebody great. Okay.
Especially giving back. How many people do you think
Q&A venture capital people? We'll bring them in. I'll get the guys from Accelerate IAB or Ventures or somebody, A100 maybe?
I am one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so very cool. More ideas? Remember, be selfish. Why are you here? And then we'll make that happen, so you'll have to come back. Okay, I'll wrap up my session. Look at that, 11 a.m. How about that? Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks.
So, yeah, actually, speaking of inventors, I got a call on the way here today. One of our members, Microlinks, was looking at going, but they do have a group rate. So if we were able to talk to inventors and get a group rate for a bunch of members to go, because I know it's quite expensive, especially once the early bird passes, which is today, or I think it's today or it's the 6th, which is Monday. Who would be interested in getting a group rate kind of passed to Inventures? People know what Inventures is? No. So Inventures is it's thrown on by Alberta Innovates. And it's a conference with kind of networking, with venture capitalists, like companies that are seeking capital. There's a bunch of presentations as well. It's a whole conference with some companies pitching, but there's a lot of venture capitalists in the room. So I'm interested in going, and so I'll talk to them. But if we did get a group rate, is there others that would be interested? I think it's $8.99 is the regular price, or $5.99 is the Alberta, the early bird. But there is this group rate of $2.99. So if anybody's interested, take a look at it maybe after the meeting, and let me know if you're interested in going, and I'll see what I can do in terms of getting a group package rate. So, but Will, you want to come up? Do you have a bio?
What's that?
Do you have a bio?
Do you have a bio?
Will Van Horn here is with Socium Law. He's actually working with Trakopolis. He does all the legal for Alberta IoT. And so he spent a lot of time in terms of legal services and legal delivery, especially for innovation or technology companies. And so when we were looking for presentations, Will said that he would come in and share his knowledge. Do you have a presentation at all, or
No,
you want to
just
wing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Winging it. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, there we go.
So thanks for the introduction, Mark, and thanks for the opportunity to come today. Will Van Horn, founder of Socium Law. We work with innovative, primarily Alberta-based companies. By way of background, I've been a practicing lawyer for 17 years. I spent the first 15 years at kind of leading law firms in Canada, practicing general corporate and commercial law with a focus on corporate governance, corporate finance, mergers and acquisitions. With both public and private companies. Today I'm going to talk about legal services delivery to an innovation economy. What I'm really going to be talking about, though, is what I think is an access problem between you guys and us on the other side. So I'm going to touch on a few things, touch on when you would typically use a lawyer in the life cycle of your business, the role we play. The prominent model for delivery of legal services now in North America, the issues inherent in that model, and some things that need to change so that we can better assist the clients, at least the client space that I'm trying to work for. So retaining a lawyer, there's many points along the course of the life cycle of a business where you're going to work or could work with a lawyer. Obviously, from your initial incorporation, hiring your employees, developing and protecting intellectual property, raising capital, establishing customer contracts, forms of contracts, developing sales pipelines, distribution channels, selling your company, buying others. That typically works today in a model of a law firm. You most likely recognize. It's a number of lawyers with different specializations working together in an office somewhere with a bunch of administrative assistants, other support staff, IT, marketing. You call them up, and the conversation generally starts with a discussion about billable hourly rates. And once you're over that shock and you've decided you want to continue to work with this lawyer, you tell them what your problem is. They hopefully give you an estimate of what it's going to cost, but they may not. They go away, they do their work, they come back to you. Hopefully they explain to you what they've done and why it's important to you and your business, but maybe they don't. And then shortly thereafter, you're going to get a bill. And that will be a panic-inducing experience for the most part, at least from what I'm seeing. And that's the model that's developed over 150 years. It works fine for large established companies because the bills and the fees, they can sustain those. It's not that meaningful to them. But they are increasingly building their own in-house legal teams to address the cost problem that they're experiencing. For companies, though, with capital constraints or tackling new ideas, developing new technologies, and investing in R&D, these are significant expenses. And so it creates an access problem because you don't want to pick up the phone to have a conversation with a lawyer even when you could benefit from their expertise. You
I'm gonna give you a figure, it's a pretty staggering number, and it illustrates the problem. $300,000. That's the cost of leading Canadian law firms to put a lawyer in a chair. That's everything around them. It's not salaries. It's office space. It's the technology they're investing in, it's staff, marketing, all that. That's a really high number. And so when you look at hourly billable rates at a large law firm, at a leading law firm, it's reflective of those costs underlying their structure. But here's the real problem for both them and you, is that you're just not going to pick up the phone. It prevents them from getting to understand the business. It prevents them from getting work for you. It creates all kinds of problems. The other thing it does is it forces you to make some decisions, because you're in a capital constrained environment. You need to decide, am I going to call the lawyer, or am I going to do this myself? And so quite often you'll do it yourself. And I'll give you a good example that I came across. A client had wanted to engage an employment lawyer to draft an employment agreement for one of their team. The employment lawyer's quote was very high, and so the client decided they would do it on their own. And they went online, and they went onto lawdepot.com, and they went through all the forms and selected the jurisdiction they're in, and it spit out a contract, and they went and got it signed and thought everything was great. And then a year later, when that employee quit, joined a competitor, took a bunch of competitive information from the company, the client went back and said, oh no, we've got this non-com provision right here. It's right in this contract I got from lawdepot.com. And I had explained that would work in some jurisdictions, but for your jurisdiction, that type of employee can't be covered by a non-com. Of course, it said it doesn't work. So I guess what I'm saying is, then we had to go and obviously we had to think about, why are we suing this person? Are we suing the company that it's working for? You know, what's the impact going to be financially in terms of sales for us? What are we losing here? And I think the number was fairly significant. In any event, the problem is that fixing a problem after it's happened is way more expensive from a legal perspective than addressing it up front with a well-drafted and well-thought-out expertise agreement or approach. So what that example illustrates, I think, isn't so much that Law Depot is a bad business, but that the legal profession has created a problem where there's not enough access for small and medium-sized businesses to our services and the expertise we provide. And so that's a problem we've got to solve. I guess, so what does that solution look like? And I hope to kind of have a really good Q&A session here today to talk about what you guys think it looks like, because I think you guys need to tell us so much what it is you need from us so we can figure out how to do it. I think it looks like, at a very high level, lawyers finding a way to better understand the business of their clients, and doing that in a way that you can afford. And so that's going to take a lot of changes. But when I first started Silkium, I spent about a year as part-time general counsel for a client. And I worked with this client. So how that relationship worked was 2 days a week I spent in their office, dedicated in their office all day. People from various departments within the company could come and just bounce ideas on me for a flat fee. And then for the rest of the time, I could work outside of their office, still on a flat fee retainer, but I could work with other clients too. So I could continue to build my business, but I'd also get a better understanding of it. So that client I had worked with for 3 years, I think, before taking on this engagement. I thought I knew their business really well until I started working with them and realized I didn't understand a single thing about their company. Really, when it came down to it, at an operational level, because that's the area that kind of matters. Like, I can tell you what your industry in general is experiencing, or some of the key issues it's facing, because I can read that and I can research that, but I can't tell you process led to designing a better contracting process that reduced sales cycle. It resulted in us building better agreements with our distribution channel partners to incentivize their sales force to sell our products more, hopefully than other companies. And we significantly reduced overall legal costs over the course of the year. So I think the solution looks something like that, where your law firm or legal services provider finds a way to better understand what you're doing and does that at a cost that you can afford. So what needs to change to take today's law firm into the future? I think there's some significant structural changes for law firms that need to occur. I think the first thing is we need to move away from billable hours as a measurement tool. It's a central measurement aspect of every law firm. It determines, most importantly, it determines lawyer compensation, so it drives behavior. But it's incentivizing all the wrong behaviors, incentivizing more hours versus greater value. And it also doesn't give you any cost certainty, which I think most people realize you need to have as you're trying to grow and scale a company. You can't just have a bill that comes, and that's the first time you understand what you're paying for. I don't do it with my business. I don't imagine most people want to do it with theirs either. Law firms need to significantly restructure. So there are a number of areas in which we need to do that. I think that one of the key and obvious ones is the real estate footprint of the average law firm today is far too expensive. And I don't think the people that law firms are going to be hiring in the future are all that interested in having a really beautiful office downtown. I think they're interested in a little more flexibility in how and where they work. And I think that can be accommodated without sacrificing culture. So that's one thing we need to do. And then I think we need to measure success differently. So again, moving away from a build hours approach to more of a delivered value approach. And there's some really great, I'm sure you guys are going to rush right out there and listen to it, but there's a really great podcast by a leading general counsel from a major American company who's a real thought leader in the area, who's come up with an entire formula around delivered value. There are approaches out there that I think make a lot of sense, a lot more than the way of doing it. So that's kind of the lay of the land as I see it in terms of legal services, how they're provided. Hopefully I'm conveying to you how it's impacting you. What I'd really like to do, though, is find out from you what you think needs to change about law firms or legal services delivery and how we can better structure our business to work with more, because I think there's an access problem that we've created with our cost structure, but I think there's probably other issues for law firms and the legal profession generally, for small and medium businesses and legal companies, and I'd just like to hear what you guys think. If anybody has any thoughts.
I'll echo something that you said. Is our company is, we're a growing company. We have 20 some staff, but it's still like that in-house legal counsel. We're not there yet, but we're facing more and more complex legal issues, right? MSAs or software terms and conditions, right? We're scaling for thousands or hundreds of thousands of customers, and I think you hit on a good point. Is what I expect my lawyer to do, like there's a point person, usually the legal firm we're using, is understand my business and come in and put that time up front. Like I'll even pay the lawyer to do that so that when a legal issue comes up, they can go and interact with the customers if they're our general counsel, because when they're not, I become the conduit, or somebody in our organization becomes the conduit, and it's like you're always this translation layer between the customer or the partner or the vendor and a lawyer on the other side that maybe doesn't fully understand your business. And so I've actually pushed our legal firm in that way and said, look, I'm just going to connect the dots, and I need to be abreast of what's happening, but I need you to act as if you're working in my office. So do a better job of understanding my business, and go just negotiate with Chesapeake. You know how our stuff works and what we need, and make it standardized so that we can do it with Exxon and BP and all our other clients, right? So you're right, and I don't know, like I've never looked at a part-time in-house legal counsel, but maybe that solves that, right? Because I don't want to have to know all the ins and outs, and I don't have to work with 8 other lawyers because there's one for IP, there's one for trademarks, there's one for patents, there's one for general legal, there's one for contracts, right? So
Yeah. It's become very specialized, and so you've got to interact with a bunch of people, and paying a point person in a law firm at those kind of rates to basically manage their own team is a fairly expensive proposition as well. But I completely agree with you. I mean, I think there's a lawyer's job has got to be to better understand what you're doing day to day and how they can put in approaches that are preventative in nature versus reactive. So let's build a contract that makes sense for what you're doing and trying to achieve, and we can deal with the one-off situations here and there. But
so how do you propose getting away with it? Because like, this all sounds good in premise, but it's still very bursty, right? Like, we're releasing a new product, we need software terms and conditions and MSAs and everything, and then we don't need anything for a while, right? And then, so, like, from the legal provider side, how do you deal with that burstiness? Because if I had somebody 2 days a week or 1 day a week, well, there's some weeks I need them 4 or 5 days a week, and some days I don't need them at all, right?
yeah, I think there are a bunch of ways to do that. I did it at least initially with Trakopolis by just saying, I'm available whenever. Here's my flat rate. Here's what your rate. Here's what you spent on legal last year. We went through that process. It was this amount. Here's half that. So that's what we're going to do this for, and see if we can make it work. And I'm going to be available to you in your office at least 2 days a week. It turned out to be a little more. And then I'm going to be available on the phone just like your law firm whenever you want to talk. And it will cover these areas, which were basically everything a general counsel would do. And it would just excluded a couple of areas in terms of large finance, which are more labor intensive. And there's some value being delivered there, so you can kind of carve that out. But I think it's really just coming to a scope of work with your lawyer, coming to a price that makes sense based on what you're doing, what you forecast as the cost, and then asking your law firm to figure out a way to do it. I think that lawyers are really creative at using the law to solve the problem, but we're not terribly creative at figuring out how to run a business for our customers. And it's the real challenge, I think, for the legal industry going forward is we need to develop that skill set. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's an easy answer, right? But
no, I think it takes a lot of conversation. We talked for 6 months probably trying to figure out how to make a relationship like that work between yourself and Trakopolis, and finally figured it out. I think it's just a long conversation with a lot of open discussion about what you're trying to do.
And the model certainly worked better for taking those big ticket items that I think any company is going to face those big ticket items, and trying to spread them out more evenly with more of a retainer model, but a flexible retainer model. I think you can not feel like you're in such a rush there's always going to be those sprint times where you've got to get a big deal done and you have to spend a lot of time, and having someone who's flexible to say you see it coming and being able to ramp up, but spending that time taking your annual average legal budget and spreading it out, because it actually reduces the time spent absorbing the information about your business so much that it helps improve all of those things that you skip, like you were talking about. The things that you try to do on your own that impose risk, it helps to have that quick question of available. Take the fear out of getting on the phone with a lawyer. Everyone go pray.
Here's a good, I don't mean to hijack your presentation, but a good question for Trakopolis, because you guys have a more mature SaaS platform, right? We are moving in a lot of the same way. SaaS platform, mix of hardware and software. Did you find with your customers that you could have do a template of legal agreements and terms and conditions, and then you can just stamp that out again and again and again? Or did every new customer become a negotiation and reworking all the legal?
Yeah, the big ones are probably going to be at least a review of theirs, but knowing what the key points are that you got to, the dangerous points for your own business that you want to because a lot of the times they're gonna send over their boilerplate, and someone like Will, who can run through that to say, knowing your business, these are the things that you've gotta go back and work on. You mentioned Chesapeake, that rings a bell. But you're gonna, I think, anytime it's a big customer, it's gotta be a case-by-case review. Yeah, but having, knowing
Standardized stuff. Or,
Yeah.
You know, we would call it enterprise stuff. That stuff, we develop templates, you know, based on whatever product we're selling, or just add in. We just developed a process. We put for the sales guys to put the contract together right there and get it signed. Because they didn't have to come back and ask, you know, are we okay to do this or are we okay to do that? We had some defined rules around where you can make changes and where you couldn't. And try to just really educate people on what the risks were that we were trying to avoid and how to avoid them. So that, I think that sped up the sales process.
Yeah.
Things here. My experience has been that these are challenges and advantages. Number one, I found it very difficult to find out, to be able to tell if a lawyer is a right lawyer for me or not, and what his track record is, how well he does. I work with law firms that did very well for me, and I work with law firms that are extremely poor quality. And there is no way for me to be able to tell the difference. Right? So that would be very important, and that's one of the main reasons I'm always scared to contact a lawyer, because I can't tell. It's the same as in my own field, in the skater world, when people want to hire a skater guy, they are not a skater people. They have no way of telling if this guy that they're hiring, whether he's the right person, right? So I think that would be very helpful from lawyers and law firms to be able to help the potential customers be able to tell whether, and having that I have the kind of, we are expert in this area, that doesn't really give me much, because everybody can say it, right?
Yeah.
So that would be one item.
Yeah, I think there are, I know that people are working on, kind of lawyer review, applications and websites. There's of course, there's a lot of lawyer-led lawyer review sites, which, you know, makes them sound really great, but they're pay for play. So your firm pays for, you know, a subscription to the magazine or whatever, and you get written up well. I think, yeah, the profession needs to do a better job of identifying its actual strong performers and bringing those to the forefront, and identifying its kind of, you know, bad actors and making sure they're better dealt with. Because we're a self-regulating profession, so if we don't do that, then at some point somebody's going to tell us how to regulate our business. So yeah, I've heard that comment a few times.
The other thing is that the way small businesses, and there are a lot of the small businesses here and medium-sized companies, the way that small business companies can utilize lawyers are different than medium-sized or large-sized. Like you're talking about retainer fees, you're talking about hourly being on site. Small companies can afford that.
Yeah.
What I found very effective is my insurance company actually set up a workshop last year, invited a tax accountant and a lawyer accountant, a tax lawyer. Yeah. They did a presentation on discussing new laws and new regulations around tax, right? I found that as a small business owner, find it extremely valuable, because what I discovered is when you're a small company, you are looking for information. You need a lawyer when you need a lawyer.
Yeah.
But 90% of the time, you need information about laws and regulations. And the small companies are not in a position to pay for a lawyer. So I think a law firm, if they can set up a specialized workshops on different topics, IoT companies, I want to know if I want to do business internationally, what kind of things I need to know. Now, it doesn't make sense for me to go and pay a lawyer. What do I need to know doing business in US, right? What do I need to know if I want to set up an office in Texas, right? I think having a workshop, having, I guess, learning sessions for companies to understand what they are dealing with when it comes to software license, when it comes to services contracts, or working internationally. That will connect law firms with the companies, and also it gives us a chance to understand how good you are.
Right.
Right?
So what I think you're saying is you want a firm that's kind of putting out articles and research and tips, notes, that kind of guide you towards and giving you presentations.
Yeah. I think if you, for example, if you set something like that and you come to Alberta IoT and DC and IEEE and a few other organizations, you say, I can provide a workshop on this specific topic, 2 hours learning session. I think a ton of companies would be interested, and that's a very good opportunity for these companies to know how good you are and what area you can help them.
So how do I get my topics, right? Do I just I think you just reach out to an association and say, what would your membership like to hear about? Just like Victor did earlier, like, what are your no's?
Well, there's about 8 different topics every business company is interested, right?
Yeah.
Acquisition, selling, hiring, doing business abroad, contracts, software, terms and conditions for licensing. Licenses. I don't think there's more than 10 or 15 different areas that the small companies, especially in IoT, where I'm just focusing on this.
Yeah.
That would be, I think between a few of the companies, we can give you a complete list of areas that they're interested.
I think that would be great.
And I think one way of figuring out what topics have interest is actually charge something for it. You've got a dozen companies that are all interested in paying $100 or $200 to be at a seminar. They're getting advice for cheaper, and you're also validating that, yeah, that's got critical mass and people will attend.
Right. Yeah.
It's interesting, like, the question was kind of answered 2 different ways, to rephrase it. For a company, typically a reality tech company, what would be the legal issue? That said, there's an age limitation as well, and so I'm sure we have an exact number somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But an idea would be, what are the legal issues that each of us should maybe take a look at? And what are the ideas that we can use as a checkboard to say, hey, we've done it already, we've got great lawyers, or maybe as a quality control to say, oh my God, we completely forgot about executive employment, all that stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So, do you want?
So where it's gonna go, because Matt, I have this button alluded to. Maybe if you have talk about that, but on top of that, maybe create a little information package.
Yeah, like an information package for Alberta IoT.
But half this room, that would people put up their hands and do definitely different. But maybe talk about what are the Mark rattled off like a whole whack of them.
Yeah, I mean, so in my experience, obviously intellectual property is one of them. Not just how to protect it, but what's worth protecting and what's not. Figuring out what's key to your business that you'll want to spend time and money on, what's just kind of, and so number one value. I think customer contracts are incredibly important, especially if you're moving lots of data around. You're going to have to be concerned about privacy law, and that's a growing and developing area. If you're working overseas in Europe, then you're going to have GDPR rules that'll apply. So you think about that. Employment, I think, again, incredibly important, especially if you're in a business that's generating a lot of intellectual property. You want to make sure that the ownership of that's clearly yours. And those are a couple areas. What else?
Smart contracts.
Yeah.
The lease behind smart contracts.
Yeah, developing a contracting process that's efficient, and that can be done quickly. I think that's really a key, because at least in a SaaS business, you're trying to reduce your customer acquisition cost all the time. It's a huge metric for a SaaS business. So if you can find ways to impact those kind of
metrics. That's worth exploring, spending some time on. Export compliance. Yeah. Privacy. Yeah, like that's one that's everybody's gonna spend time on. So it's if that could be, to my mind, if you could develop, I could develop, actually in general, could develop a prepackaged kind of solution, and sell that at a reasonable price, then I think there's value there that we'd be delivering.
Well, especially if you look at it like by market, because I think a lot of us here sell to oil and gas companies.
Yeah.
And we all need like, MSAs and your terms and conditions, privacy, right? Like there's a lot of things that we probably all are replicating again and again and again, right?
And your sales channel too, so, you know, again, I'll use this fast business model as an example. I mean, I had a conversation yesterday with hopefully a new client, SaaS business, and, you know, it's the same issue, it's facing the same issue, so you should be able to develop a solution that's relatively right for most people, and then deal with the one-off questions after, and that should reduce the cost of doing business. Anything else? No. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, well, thanks so much. This is great. I think there's a lot of interaction, and Victor got people kind of talking, and Will. The more and more that you guys help drive this association, I think the more value that we're all going to get out of it, right? So it isn't one person or even the board of directors, or we just want to help create the framework that creates the value for all of us. And so we all started with some ideas of what we thought created value, and I think Victor was, you know, astute and asking everybody, what value do you guys see here? And I think there's a lot of good ideas that came out of that. And so I don't want things to die when you leave this room. That's what we've kind of been guilty of in the past is, you know, everyone looks forward to, you know, our launch event. Everyone looks forward to this monthly meeting, and we'd like to keep the momentum going, right? So, you know, do interact on Slack, do reach out to, you know, people that are running the committees, do get involved in some of these committees. There are things that are happening throughout the month. So just so you kind of know the general cadence that we've developed is, yes, at the start of the month, we always have this meeting and we get everybody together. Typically the first week of the month is committee meetings. So I know Matt's been having an events committee meeting, the marketing committee, we get together kind of like the, I think it's the second Monday of every month. Kind of by the middle of the month is the board meeting. So if you've got issues or feedback and stuff, if you can get that into any of the board members or even through the general contact form as, you know, some ideas and things you'd like to see change, we discuss all those things, the structure of the organization, typically around the 15th. And then as you've seen, the newsletter comes out about a week after that, so like the third week of the month is the newsletter comes out. So if you want any news shared about your company, if you've got events that you think that provide value to the members that should be in there, make sure that kind of by the middle of the month, you're submitting all of that. Once again, you can submit it through the contact form on the website or submit it to a committee lead. Then that'll make sure that it makes it into the newsletter. And then the last week of the month is more kind of preparation, getting prepared for this meeting, you know, some of the activities in the organization are running, right? So that gives you a sense of what's happening. And we're always trying to increase the amount of resources you have, right? So use Slack, look on the website. We'll continue to try and build that out. But thanks everybody for coming. We have this room until 12:30. So I think one of the things that's the most valuable for me is getting to meet some of the newer members, finding out if you guys can work together, sharing of knowledge. Please do make some connections. And yeah, and if anybody remotely, you guys can stay on the line and the phone can stay on, and we can have anybody that wants us to do it. If you want to talk to anybody in the room, speak up. And yeah, hopefully you get some value out of the next hour or so. But thanks again.
Thanks, Mark.